54 men, 1 torpedo, 2 minutes. A German U-boat fired, and the SS Benlomond disappeared beneath the Atlantic. 54 men were on that ship. Only 1 survived. Not rescued, not saved. He survived. 133 days, completely alone on an 8-foot wooden raft in the middle of the ocean. No radio, no engine, no hope of rescue. His name was Poon Lim, and before this story ends, he will fight a shark with his bare hands. It is 1918. A boy is born on Hainan Island, China. His name is Poon Lim, and from the moment he could walk, the ocean was his world. He grew up fishing. He grew up reading currents. He grew up understanding that the sea gives and the sea takes. By 1942, the Second World War had swallowed the entire planet. Japan was consuming China. Poon Lim's father made a decision. "Leave," he said. "Leave before they take you." So, Poon Lim left. He boarded a British merchant ship, the SS Benlomond, as a young mess steward. A humble job, a safe job, or so he thought. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how Poon Lim turned a flashlight into the tool that kept him alive for 4 months. But first, you need to understand what he was up against. November 10th, 1942. The Benlomond set sail from Cape Town, South Africa, headed for Paramaribo on the northeastern coast of South America. 54 men, a slow ship, no escort. The Atlantic Ocean in wartime was a graveyard. German U-boats hunted in the dark, silent, invisible, deadly. The Benlomond was exactly the kind of target they were looking for. November 23rd, 1942. Poon Lim was in his cabin when the world ended. 1 torpedo, then another. The ship cracked open. Fire on the water, men screaming, metal tearing apart. In 2 minutes, the SS Benlomond was gone. Poon Lim grabbed his life jacket. He ran to his station, and then the ocean swallowed him. He sank. He fought. He clawed back to the surface. For 2 hours, he floated in the Atlantic, surrounded by oil, wreckage, and silence. He could see another raft in the distance, 4 or 5 survivors waving at him. He tried to swim toward them, but he had no paddle, no way to steer. The current pulled them apart, slowly, mercilessly. He never saw them again. Then, through the waves, he spotted something. A wooden raft, 8 feet wide, 8 feet long, empty. He pulled himself aboard, and that raft became his entire world for the next 133 days. The raft had supplies: 6 boxes of hardtack crackers, 2 pounds of chocolate, 10 cans of dried beef, 5 cans of evaporated milk, 1 bottle of lime juice, and 40 liters of water. Enough for perhaps a month. Poon Lim sat on that raft, and he did something remarkable. He didn't panic. He thought. He planned. He calculated exactly how much he could eat each day to make the supplies last as long as possible. But here's what no one tells you about survival at sea. The food and the water are not the hardest part. The hardest part is the silence. Days passed, then weeks. Ships passed on the horizon, some close enough that he fired his flares. He screamed, he waved. They didn't stop. Some crew saw him and assumed he was a Japanese decoy, a trap set by U-boats. So they sailed on and left him to die. By week 7, the food was almost gone. Poon Lim looked at the raft. He looked at what remained, and he began to build. He took the spring from inside his flashlight and bent it into a fish hook. He unraveled hemp rope from the raft and twisted it into a fishing line. He crushed the last crackers into powder and used them as bait. He caught a small fish, used that fish to catch a bigger fish, used the bigger fish to catch an even larger one. He dried the meat in the sun. He soaked it in seawater to preserve it. He dug a nail from the wooden boards and forged a stronger hook. He improvised a knife from the edge of an empty tin can. The man had nothing and built everything. Now here's the part of this story that the Royal Navy found so extraordinary. They put it directly into their survival manuals. Because what Poon Lim did next, no one had ever thought of before. When seagulls landed on his raft, he caught them with his bare hands. He drank their blood for hydration. He built a canopy from the raft's tarpaulin, tilted at an angle, so that every drop of rain ran into a container below. He tracked the stars at night to understand which direction he was drifting. He exercised every single day, swimming around the raft on a rope tied to his wrist, because he knew if he stopped moving, his body would stop too. Then the sharks came. The blood from the birds had drawn them, circling, patient, waiting. Poon Lim watched them, and then he made a decision that defines what kind of man he was. He used the bird flesh as bait. He lowered his line into the water. He waited. A shark took the bait. Poon Lim hauled it onto the raft. The shark attacked, thrashing, violent, powerful. Poon Lim grabbed his water container and beat that shark to death. He wrapped his hands in canvas for grip. He cut the shark open and drank directly from its liver, because the liver contained fluid when he had no other water. He sliced the fins, dried them in the sun. Shark fin, a delicacy from his childhood in Hainan, eaten alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. 133 days in, Poon Lim noticed something. The color of the water had changed. Darker blue, fading to lighter green. He had drifted almost 1,500 miles across the Atlantic Ocean. Land was close, but close wasn't rescue, and he knew it. April 5th, 1943. Day 133. 3 Brazilian fishermen were working 50 miles off the coast of Pará when they saw something strange. A man, alone, on a raft. They pulled alongside. They reached down. They lifted him aboard. Poon Lim had lost 20 pounds. His skin was destroyed by the sun. His hands were scarred from rope and fish hooks. But he was alive. He had been in the South Atlantic Ocean for 133 days, more than 4 months, completely alone. 3 days later, when the fishermen brought him to shore, Poon Lim walked off the raft on his own feet. Castaways are carried off rafts. They don't walk. After 6 weeks in a Brazilian hospital, he traveled to Britain. King George VI personally awarded him the British Empire Medal. The Royal Navy incorporated his survival methods into their official training manuals. Before he died in 1991, Poon Lim was asked about his world record: 133 days, alone, at sea, a record that still stands to this day. He thought for a moment, and then he said, "I hope no one will ever have to break it." 133 days. No GPS, no rescue team, no backup plan. Just a man, an 8-foot raft, and a will to survive that refused to break. He didn't survive because he was lucky. He survived because every single day when the ocean said, "Give up," Poon Lim said, "Not yet." This was 0 Hour Narratives. If this story moved you, there are more impossible survival stories waiting on this channel. Every single one is real. Every single one will leave you speechless.